It's a Friday edition here on Zero Blog 30, and today we have 3 rounds in the magazine. Round number 1, we're going to have a little game called Veteran or Not a Veteran. We're going to give you a couple news stories and tell you if a veteran is involved, where I'm going to make Cons and Kate guess if a veteran is involved or not. Round number 2, National Guard is back at it again in Florida. They're calling up all kinds of people not to be teachers this time, not to be school bus drivers, but to be prison guards. They're going to guard some prisons. They just got called up. But that poor National Guard, they get screwed over. Big screw.
Yeah, they're getting shit on. And from what I've been told from inside sources, they are not even getting paid as much as a prison guard, and they're not getting their full National Guard pay. They're really getting screwed here. Not a good time.
The Army should use their brand new slogan that was from years past and just have "Be all you can be," and then have like a school bus driver, a substitute teacher, and then a prison guard on it.
Yeah.
Like, you could do anything.
Yeah, it's true. Florida. All in
What
Florida.
do you guys, really quickly, what do you guys think about the Army bringing back the "Be all you can be"?
I got to be honest with you, Cons. I feel like the Army, for as old as it is lacking tradition in these things. You guys change it up way too much.
So
Way too much. And the new logo.
So we had "Be All You Can Be" from 1980 to 2001, really good stretch. But then after that, we had a whole bunch. We had the
Army of One,
yeah, Army Strong, and then there was like something about a warrior or something. I don't know.
What's your warrior? Or
What's your warrior?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. None of those really made any sense.
But man, my childhood brain still remembers that the voice that be all that you can be in the Army.
Yes.
Sold.
See,
I'm in.
Guess what? Rhyming works. Okay. So I'm all in on that. But have you guys watched? I think they put out 2 thus far. We're recording on Thursday. Did you see that? They're kind of like short films. Did you see
I saw
those ads? Listen, they're really cool. They're very well done. They have that actor whose name is escaping me, who is in the new Creed 3 movie. But I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with them, because if they're trying to recruit, I don't know how those videos accomplish that. You need short explosions.
You need like
cool
a 20-second TikTok video.
Yeah, exactly. Because people
and like a little dance like on TikTok.
A hot man with a 6-pack. Yeah, something like that.
That would be sick.
Wiggle dickers,
And round number 3, we're going to close out the show with a very serious round. I was on Capitol Hill this week, and a lot of other veterans were too. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about one of the sergeants that was at Abbey and his story that he gave in front of the House Arms Committee is just gutting. We're going to talk about that. And all that today is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Proper Wild. Proper Wild is a clean all-day energy shot designed to boost your focus, energy, and productivity without those jitters or crash. No preservatives, no artificial flavors, no horrible chemicals, just a natural tasting energy shot with clean ingredients that work. Try their newest flavors: strawberry, kiwi, apple, and lemon lime. Cons has had the chance to taste it. Cons, what do you think?
Yeah, they're delicious. And I think it really goes to show what they're talking about with like the no weirdo chemicals and everything. Those other shots from those other companies, it always tasted kind of funny. Like, what am I actually drinking? And it's supposed to give me
aluminum
energy.
foil, je ne sais quoi.
Exactly. Whereas these, it just tastes like a shot of juice, and it gives you all the added benefits. They're delicious.
The kiwi is like biting into a real kiwi, friends. It's delicious.
Oh, wow. How we feel about kiwis overall as a group?
Oh, I love them.
Do you?
I feel like people don't mess with them because the hassle of uncutting them.
Oh, but
no,
you don't
I
have
eat
to
the
do
skin.
a lot. They're easy.
Oh, I eat the skin.
You don't have to
the skin.
Cut it in half, take a spoon,
Stop
and
it.
just
Time out.
Mm-hmm.
Cons, you're eating the skin of a kiwi?
How is that any different than eating the skin of a peach?
That's the craziest shit I ever heard.
No, tell me, how is it any different than the skin of a peach?
There's little
fuzzier, much nuttier. Yeah, much more testicly.
That's where all the nutrients are. Just like, do you eat the skin of a potato?
That's where the nutrients are?
Yeah, everybody knows the
That's
nutrients
why I
are in the
just drink
skin.
Proper Wild. That's why I stick with Proper Wild. I don't have to worry about peeling or dealing.
You could just squeeze it straight into your mouth and you'll have energy all day, baby. That's the way we like it here. Go to properwild.com/barstool and you're going to try it and get 30% off. Great deal. properwild.com/barstool. All right, let's move on to round number 1. I'm pretty excited about this because I was going through different stories, like what I was going to blog or if I was going to blog, and I was looking through different types of stories online, and I came across a couple. Some are veterans, some are not. We're going to go
But that
through
they
it.
wouldn't surprise you, because there's so many news stories where a lot of times I'm like, please don't be a veteran. Oh my
Right.
God, please
Yeah.
don't be a veteran.
And those usually
so,
involve something weird, like a car wreck or somebody did something silly with alcohol involved. But these are a little bit different. But I think you can all see folks in the smoke pit, folks that you know doing this kind of stuff. What's the first story, Catherine?
All right. Number one comes to us from Norwalk, Connecticut, where a staff member at a school was arrested after police say a 5th grade student lost consciousness when this teacher demonstrated a chokehold. Stephanie Sanabria, age 50, was working as a math coach at Brookside Elementary School when officials say she performed martial arts moves on 3 students.
Right.
They were demonstrating jujitsu moves, and some of the students had volunteered. Because you know what? If I'm a student and I suck at math, I'll be like, yeah, ma'am, you can, we'll goof around with jujitsu so I don't have to do math. So sure, some kids volunteered.
You know what I think it could have been? Because she's a math teacher. I think she was trying to say that Pythagoras was right, even in jujitsu, and threw on the old triangle choke.
Right, a little triangle choke, maybe a little geometry. Well, after the student lost consciousness, the school nurse immediately treated the child.
You think?
Norwalk Public Schools had to release a statement. The woman resigned, this 50-year-old woman who choked the kids out. And in the meantime, parents learning about this say they don't think any harm was intended, but they wonder what the teacher was thinking.
We need to send her our sweatshirt. Good initiative, bad judgment.
I'm going to say that is a Navy vet. Okay. I'm going to say she's a Navy veteran. She made it to...
At the end, I want you to tell us which one, because I have the list. Which one is a veteran and which one isn't? Are you leaning towards veteran on that one or no?
Yeah, because I remember when I got home from boot camp, being out in my driveway, that's what I was gonna say. To hip toss all my buddies.
Oh, yeah.
No, so I was going to say, had you not told me she was 50, I would have said this is somebody fresh from boot camp.
Trying to one of those National Guard members.
Right, yeah. All right.
So that's number one.
2. Here's story number 2. The people of Aleska Resort, Alaska, woke up to an enormous penis carved into the snow atop the face of Teacup Bowl Mountain overlooking the town.
It doesn't look that big in the picture that you guys can see.
Oh,
they said that it was 500 meters.
No, this penis covers the entire face of the mountain almost, like going down to the very top. That's big penis. A local news outlet was told that a group of skiers had hiked up to the bowl under the cover of the moonlight to stake their claim. This must have been a group of like teens working all night long in coordination to draw this. And it's perfect, this penis. Nice little head.
I would do that. That would be fun. Like if you were
little pee hole.
If you were stationed in Alaska, I would do this.
Yeah, they heard through the grapevine that the mountain manager at Alaska wasn't so happy with this masterpiece. And this person who runs the mountain asked if a helicopter from Chugach Powder Guides would fly up there to stomp it out. This is one of those instances where nothing would have happened if they just let it go. But now there's like a helicopter flying over it. The whole town's looking up.
Do you know what that's called? There's a term for that.
What?
For what?
It's that if you would have left it alone, nobody would know about it. It's called the Streisand effect. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
Yes.
There was a guy that was flying the coastline of California and just taking pictures of the coastline to document the amount of erosion that was on the California coast. One of the houses that was picked up in like Malibu or wherever was Barbra Streisand's house, like 40,000 square feet, a very private compound. She found out about it, and it was just in some online PDF that nobody had seen. It had 11 clicks, I believe, before. And then when she complained, issue a cease and desist, the next day it went up to like 350,000, then 1.5 million.
Of people looking at her property on the site.
She violated her own privacy because nobody said this is Barbra Streisand's house. It was just a house that was there.
Right. And no one cared. No one would have seen it. Yeah. Well, so this is what that mountain manager did. They did the Streisand effect. Now everybody was looking at the dick up on the mountain with a helicopter trying to use the wind of the blades to blow the dick away. Either way, all in good fun. Hopefully a nice fresh snow covers that penis up. They could do a fresh one soon.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. I would say several of that group of friends were in the military, but I'll decide that in the end.
No, I don't think so. But go ahead.
Wow.
Number 3 comes to us from Whately, Massachusetts. And I can picture there's certain Massachusetts towns, because we work with a lot of Boston area guys. I can picture these two gentlemen very well in my head. I'm picturing a chin strap real thin, perfectly tightened chin strap beard on
Yep.
both of them. Goatee. Okay. Whately, Massachusetts. The idea of opening a topless cannabis dispensary at Club Castaway Strip Club was brought to the attention of the town of Whately Select Board last week.
First of all, count me in.
Count
That
me
sounds
in.
like a great time.
Also, anything that makes a township board meeting more exciting, I'm all for it. 'Cause those are
Especially
usually
if it
such a
involves
drag.
boobs and weed.
Yeah. So during the Whately Select Board meeting held on February 16th, owners Nicholas Spagnola and Julia Sokol spoke about possible plans for Club Castaway as they try to sort out best use of the property. Our goal would be to operate a topless dispensary and to remove nude dancing and alcohol from the license. So they're switching one out for the other.
Yeah.
We're going to have titties out serving you weed,
No harm, no foul situation.
but the vaginas are going to be covered up. They won't be dancing anymore.
True. No word on the pasty situation.
One of the questions from a select board member asked Spagnola who was going to be topless. He stated the following: "Who's going to be topless? It may surprise you, but we've never had a shortage of employees who wanted to work at Castaways. I do think some of our former employees that we've worked with would love to be involved with this."
I absolutely agree. If you,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the tips. If you had a dynamite set of titties and you're giving somebody some sativa, you would be the belle of the ball. I mean, make it rain.
Throw some hot guys in there too, for all I care.
Let them have their dicks out. Yeah.
Throw in some comforting dad bods. That's who I want to offer me a nice sativa. So there you go. So one of these two is Julius or the other fella, a military member. We'll find out at the end. Story number 4. A man masturbated in front of his house and had sex with his wife on a bollard following a heated row over
Do you guys know what a
parking.
bollard is?
No.
It's like those balls outside Target, like something to help prevent people from. Following a heated row over parking in a residential cul-de-sac. On numerous occasions, Lee Craig McConnell parked his vehicle and a camper van at another car parking space in Meadowview where he lives. Prosecutor Richard Withy said McConnell parked his camper van in a neighbor's space, which led to tensions and arguments. And this forced the neighbor to put a bollard in place. So this neighbor is like, "Stop parking your stupid camper van in my spot." So she put some big annoying object there so he can't park the camper van.
Good old-fashioned passive aggressiveness.
So
McConnell, great.
McConnell says, "Your bollard's not going to stop me." He climbs on top of it, starts jerking off, and then has sex with his wife on it. Okay. Anyway, this is all captured on CCTV footage. And as the court said, it clearly shows the defendant facing the camera masturbating. So they just do not care. They're really showing it to her.
He appears to be talking to his wife wearing some sort of gown. Then she walks towards the bollard, goes over to the bollard, and engages in a sexual act. He finishes and then walks back into the house.
Yeah. Referring to the community fallout over McConnell's actions, neighbors say the whole thing is a disaster.
Yeah.
All the neighbors are turned against him and his wife, and they are moving away. All they're doing is removing themselves from a difficult situation. It is sad. And this is a man who's trying to bring up a family and work. He's highly embarrassed what happened. So that's
my favorite line in the whole thing. This dude's jerking off.
All he's trying to do is raise his family. No, he's jerking off on a bollard in his neighborhood. So,
but if it's your house and you didn't know those cameras, you gotta be innocent, right? You should have the ability to fuck in your own yard at night.
It wasn't his yard.
Right. Yeah, it was.
No, she's saying it wasn't his yard.
No, it wasn't in his yard. It was his neighbor's bollard on her designated parking spot.
Not to mention, if you're in view of other people, I think you could get brought up on violating someone's rights, even though if you're on your own property.
Yeah,
indecent exposure.
I don't think you should have it if it's on your own property. On somebody else's bollard, that's a totally, you can't be fucking on somebody else's bollard.
No.
Do you know how like you always see like CCTV footage of a robbery happening and you're always like, why is that so blurry with our technology that we have today? Do you know why that is?
No.
So you actually have to pay a service to operate those cameras, the security cameras, and it costs more money the more clear you go with the picture. So if it's more HD, it costs more money. So people do the lowest quality because I mean, 99 times out of 100, your cameras are running and nothing bad is happening. But then it's that one time
until your truck drives away in the middle of the night and you had no idea why.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good
They'll
point,
get
Jeff.
ya. All right, let's
All
go
right.
through the 4 of them and decide which one you think is veteran and which one is not. The first story, that story was
Yes, the teacher who choked the kids out. Yes, I think
Right.
she's a veteran. I'm saying Navy.
I say no veteran. It's just somebody who really later in life got very much into UFC and
Okay.
jiu-jitsu. So,
All right,
All
the
right.
next one. And then I'll reveal the answers after you guys are done.
The next one, the penis on the mountain. I'm gonna say a couple of those were veterans for
Okay.
sure. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm going again. No, I don't. I
Okay.
spent a lot of time at a lot of mountains. There's people who just work at mountains. I think they just get bored with the monotony of it, and they're really talented on skis and snowboards. Just based on the quality of the image, I'm going no veterans
Okay.
again.
All right.
Okay.
Then we have Nicholas Spagnola and Julia Sokol of the strip club Topless Cannabis Place. I'm gonna say
That's
one
a
of them. One of them
Yeah.
is a veteran, Army veteran.
Yes.
Okay.
I
And then
agree.
finally, we have the guy masturbating on the bollard. I'm gonna say British Army, perhaps.
Could be. Cons, what do you think?
Yeah, that's an old crusty first sergeant move if I ever saw one.
Yeah.
All right, here's the answer. All 4 veteran related. All 4 of them.
No.
Yeah, all 4.
No.
You just gotta know, man. Like anything that's
No.
crazy and ridiculous, all 4
We
of them.
hate
are-
to stereotype it. God damn it.
As
These
soon
people
as
aren't
I
helping
saw
our
it,
cause.
I cut out the portions of the articles where it talked about like, and then I looked up the name of the one that was, it's actually in Ireland. I looked up that one. That dude was
Ah.
in the Irish Army. So
See, listen,
Wow.
I'll admit that I was wrong, but also at the same time, doesn't surprise me that they're all veterans.
no, I agree with Cons. The
No,
only one that
yeah.
I was kind of questionable about, which might not make a whole lot of sense, was the dick one. I thought the dick one might be just some rowdy teenagers.
No,
some
when I saw the
California teens that went to
precision,
Alaska.
when I saw the precision of the shaft
Yeah.
and the balls and the symmetry, I said, no. Somebody
No,
here.
you're like, no.
Well-
That's somebody who spent a lot of hours in a porta potty
yes,
with a Sharpie.
And
I
we'll
know
make
when
a
I see
video
it.
because one of the things that I noticed about this picture, you guys look closely. That's not their first dick because
No,
there is
no.
no other markings around it. It's a perfect
Yeah.
cock right there
Yep.
on the mountain.
Yeah, that
face.
takes leadership and
Yeah, it
teamwork.
really
And
does.
yeah, truly. So
Kate,
Also, it
you've
takes
done
in-
plenty
listen.
of snow dicks.
yes, I have. Thank
No,
you.
because here's the other thing too that I think we're forgetting. Once they're down there at the end of it, they got to hike back up. So you needed some endurance. So
Mhm.
I think it's people who are still in pretty
Um,
good shape.
I'm gonna do
a
a big snow vagina, and the top of the mountain's gonna be the clitoris.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Yes, it would.
Mhm.
Hey,
Think
speaking of
about it.
endurance, Kate, I saw that you joined a gym. Sorry to sidetrack us.
Yeah, I had extra time before my train the other day, and I was already leaving the dentist. I'm on my last set of braces. Woo!
Oh yeah,
And
no braces almost done.
I walked in there, and I just was like, "Can you just sign me up? I'm not gonna show up or anything." And he's like, "Yeah, fine." And I was like, "All right, cool." And
How
then
much was
I'm
it?
not gonna go. It's $55 a month. Is
Oh,
that a
That's
lot?
actually not bad. No, that's not bad for
No,
a
it's
gym.
not
here?
bad. But if Kate,
No, even up here,
Kate's
it's
better
not.
served at Planet Fitness, where it's like $10.
Mm.
Oh, they fucked me over once, and I'm never going.
Oh
I had
yeah,
to-
when you
yeah.
did it for like 3 years. And
I
never
paid
went.
for that for 3 years and didn't go. And then I moved away, and they wouldn't let me cancel it. I had to drive all the way back down there to fucking cancel it one day.
Now, you sure you want to cancel?
3
Yeah.
hours. Fuck me.
Wow.
Mhm.
Anyway.
All
round
right,
number
let's move
2.
on to round number 2. We're going to talk about the National Guard once again being taken advantage of.
All right, so round number 2 comes for us from WMBB in Florida, Malone, Florida, to be exact. And this story was actually sent to me by an active duty soldier in Florida who knows people who are getting sucked into this, who are just fucking miserable. And they said that they sent it to me because they're furious about it. A lot of people are really unhappy. Whatever. Here we go. So National Guard troops are becoming a more common sight at the Jackson County Correctional Institute in Malone. The troops are being used to solve a prison staffing crisis. Back in September, Governor Ron DeSantis issued an executive order activating the Florida National Guard to address the severe staffing shortage in prisons. They're acting as correction officers for 9-month periods that began in September or until the Department of Corrections can fill some of the vacancies.
Think
These
about how
guards-
long that is, because if they're called up, they have to
9
leave
months.
their civilian jobs. Like they can't go to
Yes,
civilian
that's right.
civilian jobs.
That's right. You have to leave your civilian job. And this was the thing that people told us that was an issue for them in Texas with the National Guard
Mhm.
being called up to the border was, well, I'm a small business owner. My small business is completely fucked now because of
Yep.
this kind of thing. So imagine, because the Department of Corrections can't handle their own staffing shit. Now your world's getting flipped upside down.
Yep.
Jackson County is one of the 9 locations on the list in dire need of more help. The executive order said a shortage threatens the safety of the officers, inmates, and the public. The order also approves pay increases to recruit and retain correctional officers. So not pay increases for the guardsmen. Right. They're offering pay increases to bring, they're desperate for recruiting, to bring people in to be guardsmen, or not guardsmen, but fucking prison guards.
Right.
According to the Florida Department of Corrections, pay increases and other incentives are successful. Oh, sure, Jan. That's why the National Guard's in there. There are a lot of unanswered questions. How many other prisons in our area will have National Guard troops? How long will they be there? How do prison administrators feel about having extra help? Those questions remain unanswered for now. Both Florida Department of Corrections and Jackson County Correctional Institute refused requests for interviews. They instead referred us to a 6-month-old press release saying it would answer all of our questions. And indeed, it did not answer their questions.
And the craziest parts about this story, this prison is a for-profit private prison. Like it's not even state-run facility.
Wow.
Right. So you're using state, like I don't understand how that doesn't violate posse comitatus.
Yeah. How does that pass the smell test?
Right.
And like you wrote here, the board members are raking in $4.5 million in profits. Yep. And so the guardsmen themselves are manning guard towers, conducting perimeter patrols, and working control stations. They're not directly supervising inmates, except under that circumstance or in the event.
But you are.
But in the event of emergency.
That's my problem with this. I think more so than anything, aside from the pay, which is obviously a problem. But you're putting these people who are not trained in prison tactics.
And that's exactly the reason why that last line is in there. That's the reason why we're said they're not having direct supervision because they have to pass licensure for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with putting people in those positions.
Oh, me too.
And I just want to read you from, this is the message that I got. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but sending this to you because I'm sick about it. And I don't think I can tweet what I drafted. So they're kind of using me to vent about it. I'm active duty now, so this doesn't affect me, but they are very close with a large group of these guardsmen that are there now. They're on bullshit orders and being paid less than an actual prison guard or than their regular army pay for their rank, because that's what the state does on state active duty orders. It makes me absolutely sick. I can't in good conscience tell an American to join the Guard anymore. I just can't. I fucking love the Army, and the Guard set me up with a ton of opportunities that got me to where I am, and my soldiers and leaders were outstanding. And I would tell a kid tomorrow to volunteer for the reserves, but not the Guard. Done with the Guard. It started as a call for volunteers right before I came over to active duty. Word around the campfire was that if they didn't get enough, they were going to start like saying, sorry, you have to go now. And that's what happened. They're piecemealing these details together. They're not even units. And like, too, when you're on a 9-month detail and you don't know anybody you're working with and there's no unit cohesion, and like, this is a recipe for morale. It's just quit. What the fuck are we doing? I don't know. I just thought that was super fucked up. And so
I did too. Like that whole story is fucked up.
If anybody wants to reach out anonymously and tell us what's going on or what that's like, or anybody in any National Guard across the country, if you're being used in some wacky capacity, if you're listening to this on your school bus that you're driving for the Guard right now, hit us up and tell us, what is life like? Like what's going on?
I'm curious, and maybe it's a state by state thing. Obviously, you know, the governor of every state can use the National Guard at his or her discretion, but is there, you know, certain types of events that are listed out like, hey, use the National Guard for this and not this? Do you guys know?
I would imagine so, but the National Guard, the state National Guard just has so much leeway. Like
that's South what I figured. It's probably ambiguous.
Right. South Dakota's governor sending South Dakota Guard members to the border of Texas, like just because it's a political move doing that one. And somebody, a private business paid for that, like paid like a couple $1 million for that to happen. They got to fucking do these rules over again because this shit's getting out of control, man. Ambulance drivers, bus drivers, prison guards, teachers, like military members are very flexible. They're very adept at being Semper Gumby is what we call it. Always flexible, always movable. But just because they can doesn't mean they should.
Yeah. This is the last thing I'll say. I don't like it, obviously, because of the implications on you're getting free labor essentially from the state. But I just think too often you're putting these people in situations where the risk for injury or something bad happening is too high for my liking personally. And I don't think that's fair to anybody.
If they do get injured, they don't have the same protections under the VA.
Right.
They don't have those, they don't have the ability to get the their time and service added as federal time. There's so many things that they're robbed of because it's state orders. All right, let's move on to round number 3, kind of piggyback off of that. We'll start with what I saw this week on Capitol Hill. Speaking of National Guard members, several came by and had a beer with me. I tweeted out that I was going to be there, and some of them came by and they were kind of telling me what was going on in their units. A lot of that same kind of sentiment, Cons, like where people are talking about, I don't want to do this anymore. They're taking advantage of us. They're not giving enough incentives, pay, and all those different things. One of the guys that I talked to was on the ground on January 6th. And he said it took them months to get their pay right. Like that, because they were activated, they were still getting their smaller pay. There's just all kinds of issues. And that's the reason why you have veterans that needed to go on the Hill this week. It's unfortunate that you have to advocate for yourself, but that's just the fact of the matter in modern day American life and really throughout history. I was actually talking to somebody about Smedley Butler and how he had to go and was really one of the first ones to lead at Washington, that people from World War II deserved their pensions. They deserved all the entitlements that they were promised because they weren't getting those things. But now, fast forward fucking 120 years or something like that, you have so many more issues that are popping up. One of the main ones that we focused on, I was with the VFW doing some advocating this week. One of the biggest ones they're focused on, and we've talked about it a lot, those predatory loan sharks. So they're just absolute pieces of shit. Like they had example after example of older veterans in their 90s taking advantage of, younger veterans in their 20s taking advantage of. And the part that really pisses me off is that somehow Google and all these other search engines have allowed, because they pay for advertising. If you go on right now and you search VA home loans, the first 7 or 8 are not even VA related, like at all. And it's they're just getting fucked. Like so many veterans are getting fucked. And think about the population of most of the veterans that are going to be doing that, like Camp Lejeune and Agent Orange in the past. And now our generation is coming up. All those different things that they were going through could have been stopped. Like if you just give people what they deserved at the beginning, you don't have to go on Capitol Hill. You shouldn't have to go on Capitol Hill. So the predatory loan thing was one. I was super glad about that. Number 2, the Major Richard Starr Act. Are you guys familiar with that?
No.
All right. So I'll put myself in the position. Whenever I got medically retired, the Marine Corps retired me at a rate of 60%. So I got 60% retirement. And then the VA, like before I got out, I had to go get my rating from the VA and my retirement number from the Marine Corps. At that point, the service member has to choose if they want the VA money or if they want the military money. Almost everybody chooses the VA money because it's just automatically higher. So you get TRICARE and things like that with your retirement, but you don't actually get your retirement pay from the branch of service. So many people that are catastrophically injured, like one of my buddies that I met up with this week, he said he can't hardly move around. Not a buddy, but he's now a buddy. He said he can't do a whole lot of stuff. When he got out, he wanted to be a farmer and all kinds of different things. And now he can't. He said, I wanted to be a 20-year service member. This is what I've spent my life doing. I joined at 17 and I wanted to do my 20 and be done at 37 and be completely retired. And I thought, you know what? That's exactly right. There's so many people in that position that this was the career path. This wasn't a 4-year and 8-year endeavor. Some people have it in their mind that they want to serve the country for a full 20 years. And so the Major Richard Starr Act is trying to get people who are in that position. 50,000 Purple Heart recipients are in that position where they should deserve that money. And Congress it looks like they're going to pass it. Like there's 206 that were signed on. And even in some of the meetings that we are in, certain Congress people were like, oh, we had no idea that this was even going on. Like a lot of the new bills haven't come across our desk yet. We got like 4 or 5 different representatives just from the ones I stopped at that were like, yeah, we'll sign on to that one immediately. So that was a really good thing. What do you guys think about that program?
And well, was it pretty bipartisan?
Very.
Support you had, or what was it was
very bipartisan. Like Republican, Democrat didn't matter. Once you kind of break it down like that, like we need some more stuff here. There's so many, because the difference of where you're at with the VA, and the VA 100% disability is a lot of money, like that's coming in every month. But if you can't work and you can't do the normal things that you want to do, if you couldn't do all the benefits that come along with being a veteran and being a military member, like going back to college, like buying a home, like all those different things become exponentially more difficult if you're
Right.
locked into that simple rate. So hearing people and hearing their impassioned pleas about veteran issues was awesome. We usually talk about the veteran issues all the time, constantly running my mouth. Being there, shutting the fuck up and listening to what other veterans were saying was unbelievably cathartic for me, and really reinvigorated my passion for this group of people that I'm a part of, and how much people like my friend Pat Murray. Pat Murray is the director of policy and legislative affairs at the headquarters DC VFW office. This dude is as smart as anybody in the veteran game. He cares so much, spends so much time advocating for veterans, being on the ball, and he's an amputee from Fallujah like me. So I'm not an amputee, but he's a Fallujah veteran like me. So having that connection with him and seeing that he's doing the hard work, and I told him that over the week, I don't do the hard work, I talk. People like him are doing the hard work and trying to get this legislation through. And there's a lot of other issues that are going on. And one of the big issues that was happening this week outside of the VFW and outside of trying to get benefits, and that's the focus on what happened during the Afghanistan withdrawal. Kate, take it away.
Yeah. So the House Foreign Affairs panel had their very first oversight hearing on what happened leading up to and after the U.S. end of our nearly 20-year war in Afghanistan. And I mean, number one, the bombing at the airport happened on the 26th of August, 2021. What's today's date?
It's
March 9th, 2023.
It's been nearly 2 years. And they're finally, the government's asking the troops who were there, hey, what was that like? And for me, that was the first point of anger.
And shout out to the GOP for that. Like, that is a Republican thing that they're doing. The Democrats were cowards across the board. They should have done that and held everybody accountable. Biden, the entire administration, should have been held accountable from the minute that it happened. And that's the reason why people hate bipartisan policies, because that should have been priority number one. When
nobody wants to do anything that will make them look bad.
Right.
And
well, it's uncomfortable too for them, right? Because we were like, all right, 20 years worth of 2 wars, and we're walking away from those. And I think a lot of people in Congress wanted to be like, all right, cool, let's just not talk about that at all and kind of brush it under the rug, but it needs to be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, the very first House Foreign Affairs panel on what happened with the end of Afghanistan. And one of the features of that was testimony from a Marine injured in the bombing at Abbey Gate at Hamid Karzai International Airport on the 26th of August, 2021. And that was U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Tyler Vargas Andrews. I've been following him, and I recommend that you do too, on Instagram at Whistling Death is his name on there. And as you'll hear him, I'm going to just let him speak, and you can just listen to his testimony. I listened to it 5 times. There are so many more details. It was difficult enough, like watching it unfold, and horrific seeing the babies passed over the razor wire and seeing what those troops went through and the position they were put in by much higher level people who had plenty of time to avoid something like this, to see where these Marines and these soldiers and these troops and these corpsmen were left hanging by leadership across the board at every single level, and what that led to hear that they had eyes on the bomber and weren't able to do anything about it. I'll let him speak, and then I'll speak after, but here we go.
I requested engagement authority while my team leader was ready on the M110 semi-automatic sniper system. The response, leadership did not have the engagement authority for us. Do not engage. I requested for the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Brad Whited, to come to the tower to see what we did. While we waited for him, psychological operations individuals came to our tower immediately and confirmed the suspect met the suicide bomber description. He eventually arrived, and we showed him our evidence, the photos we had of the 2 men. We reassured him of the ease of fire on the suicide bomber. Pointedly, we asked him for engagement authority and permission. We asked him if we could shoot. Our battalion commander said, and I quote, "I don't know," end quote. Myself and my team leader asked very harshly, well, who does? Because this is your responsibility, sir. He again replied he did not know, but would find out. We received no update and never got our answer. Eventually, the individual disappeared. To this day, we believe he was a suicide bomber. We made everyone on the ground aware. Operations had briefly halted, but then started again. Plain and simple, we were ignored. Our expertise was disregarded. No one was held accountable for our safety. About 1730, Staff Sergeant Darren Hoover, friend and mentor, came to get me from the tower to go help find an Afghan interpreter in the crowd. We found the interpreter and his brother, born with American passports. They told us of 5 family members still in the canal. I stayed there waiting for the family members standing against a 2-foot canal wall. 10 minutes passed. Then a flash and a massive wave of pressure. I'm thrown 12 feet onto the ground, but instantly knew what had happened. I opened my eyes to Marines dead or unconscious lying around me. A crowd of hundreds immediately vanished in front of me, and my body was catastrophically wounded with 100 to 150 ball bearings now in it. Almost immediately, we started taking fire from the neighborhood, and I saw how injured I was with my right arm, completely shredded and unusable. I saw my lower abdomen soaked in blood. I crawled backwards roughly 7 feet because I thought I was still in harm's way. My body was overwhelmed from the trauma of the blast. My abdomen had been ripped open. Every inch of my exposed body, except for my face, took ball bearings and shrapnel. I tried to get up but could not. Laying there for a few minutes, I started to lose consciousness when I heard Chaz, my team leader, screaming my name as he ran to me. His voice calling to me kept me awake. When he got to me, he dragged me to safety and immediately started triaging me, tying tourniquets on my limbs and doing anything he could to stop the bleeding and start plugging wounds with the help of the other Marines. I was awake through most of it, screaming, moaning, and cursing. I ask you to please ask me about getting shot at the tower in Abbey Gate and how no one wanted my report post-blast. Even NCIS and the FBI failed to interview me. Ask me to elaborate on my ordeal post-blast, and ask me about this one little girl and her family that I reunited. Our military members and veterans deserve our best because that is what we give to America. The withdrawal was a catastrophe in my opinion, and there was an inexcusable lack of accountability and negligence. The 11 Marines, 1 sailor, and 1 soldier that were murdered that day have not been answered for. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I mean, there are no words and there are a million words. I think you can tell by my voice, like this stirred up everything I felt when it happened. Mm-hmm. And I still really struggle with feelings of disillusionment of like, what was the fucking point of it all? And I think what exacerbates it is, to me, them taking nearly 2 years to ask somebody like Sergeant Tyler Vargas Andrews what happened to him there, for the government to take nearly 2 years to show any kind of movement, to really, really look at it and listen to the people who were on the ground and see what the hell happened. to hear that the State Department was just like sitting on their asses at every level. I just like, they had the time. Administration after administration knew it was coming to a close and could have gotten ducks in a row to get Afghan Americans out, to get interpreters out, to do all these things. But everyone kept passing the buck. And at the end of the day, it fell on those troops, and those troops, 13 of them, along with hundreds of Afghans, men, women, children, the elderly, ended up dying horrible fucking deaths because of it. And hundreds more are left crippled for the rest of their lives because of it. Sorry, I get so angry and so disillusioned because I think, to me, it just proved, and like maybe I'm being negative, like they don't fucking care. They all wear their little flag pins on both sides of the fence, and they all say they fucking love the troops so much. But I truly believe in my heart that most of them don't give a fuck. They just use us to further their careers and further whatever. But if any of them really gave a fuck, that wouldn't have happened. And sorry, there I go. I'm going off.
You could see that, Kate. That
like,
was so evident this week during that
horrible,
testimony.
Horrifying.
Right. There was a full house of different type of legislators in that meeting with the sergeant talking about his experiences. That was full. And then you go on the other side, and it's the VFW, Veteran Service Organization, empty across the board. The senators that are on that committee, completely empty. The only people that were really behind there was some of the staffers and a few congressmen, but no senators were sitting in those seats.
No, they don't give a fuck.
Man.
They don't give a fuck.
Right.
But when it's convenient to them, you better believe they'll be talking about the troops every chance they get.
It'll be
but when it comes down to it,
campaign trail,
they're not there. They should have all been pushing for a hearing like this from day fucking one.
Yep.
But they don't. It doesn't matter. So I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I'm thinking about.
I think I know what you might answer this.
Yeah.
What'd you expect? I hate to say it, but like, did you expect anything different?
I
think we
want
should.
so
We should.
badly.
No, we should.
Yeah.
And they absolutely, should be held to a higher standard, and their actions show
look at like
gross negligence. But I mean, what do you expect?
The Korean War, and then the Vietnam War, and then this one. I lumped the three of them together and for many similarities, and that the needlessness of so much of it, and that no lessons were learned, that it just keeps repeating. And I know that's a broad swipe that I'm saying there, but I think the sentiment of what I'm saying is true, and that at the end of the day, we're just like a pawn in the game, and they just, it's just so disillusioning to look at. I'm supposed to be so proud of my service and blah, 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 but to be like, what was the point? I don't know. I could go down. Clearly, I'm really struggling with it, and I have whenever I really think about it. And when I think about what happened to my friends and what's happened to some of their lives since then, and to hear his testimony, I mean, holy shit. Like, no, who is accountable? I just want to scream at the top of my lungs. Nobody. At the end of the day, they're all sitting in their mansions, and none of them are going to be held accountable at all. It just doesn't matter. So
you're exactly right, Kate. And one of the main sentiments that people that have been there on the ground and saw everything is that they are emphatic about the names being said. Did not forget those 13 who lost their lives in the Afghans. So that's what we're going to do. Here's taps. Hoover. Staff Sergeant Hoover. Staff Sergeant Darren Hoover. Sergeant Johanny Picardo. Sergeant Nicole Gee. Corporal Hunter Lopez. Corporal Deegan Page. Corporal Umberto Sanchez. Lance Corporal David Espinoza. Lance Corporal Jared Smits. Lance Corporal Riley McCullum. Lance Corporal Dylan Marola. Lance Corporal Kareem Nikui. Hospital Corporal Maxton Soviak. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Noss.